think it's time to cast some pod. Let's do it. Who are we, you ask? The name's whatever. Baseball and whatever. I am Greg here with you, reporting from the corner of my basement. I've taken over the podcast once again because I have a very special guest with us today. But before we get into that, please like, share, and subscribe to Baseball and Whatever. Now brought to you by Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Podcast Network. Follow them on Twitter at Belly Up Sports and visit them at bellyupsports.com. And while you're at it, follow the show on Twitter at Baseball and What. Email us at baseballandwhatever@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and maybe the TikTok one day. We'll see. But enough of all that. Let's get to it. Joining Baseball and Whatever this evening is educator and head baseball coach at Hayti High School, Jarrett. Coach, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you for having me.
I did pronounce that correctly, right?
Yes, Hayti High School.
Hayti High School. I originally wanted to say Haiti, but I'm glad we clarified that in the pre-show right there. So, Jarrett, welcome to Baseball and Whatever. I always ask our guests if this is their first baseball podcast.
It is.
Awesome. And lastly, where are you joining us from tonight? Where is Hayti High School?
So we are right off of I-55 coming up through Missouri from
Holy cow.
My ringtone is Harry Carey.
Hello. There you go. Hey, we got a Cubs fans here, ladies and gentlemen.
How fitting for that to happen here of all places. No, we are between Memphis and St. Louis on I-55.
Gotcha.
So
awesome. So before we get started, Coach, I have some quick fire questions for
all
you. Right. To baseball, to whatever. My first question to you is a Captain America question. Is before you get started, does anyone want to back out? Are you ready to go with the quick fire questions?
Yeah.
All right. I think we already answered this one, but quick fire question one, Coach. What is your favorite MLB team? Who is your favorite MLB team?
It's been the Cubs as long as I've been able to remember.
That's awesome. As you all know, Justin and Vinny, the other two hosts on this podcast, are also huge Cubs fans, so they'll certainly be happy to hear that. So it's Cubby Blue all the way, ever since the beginning.
Definitely.
Huh? Awesome.
Definitely.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said I was that kid that had like 12 Sammy Sosa posters on my wall in the early 2000s.
There you go. I always miss the Sammy Sosa taco commercial when the White Sox guy punks him with the spicy taco. It was like a Pepsi commercial, I think, but yeah, that was always a fun commercial. Those were good times. So quick fire question number 2, Coach. What is your favorite MLB team hat other than a Cubs hat?
Ooh. That's hard.
There's the quick fire questions. I know. Kind of hard thinking on the fly here.
I like I'm gonna go with the traditional Yankee hat.
Oh, okay.
Just because it's traditional, it doesn't change. It's
been the same ever since the beginning of time, almost.
When you think of baseball, you think of it. So might as well go ahead and pick that one, right?
Absolutely. Good answer. No, it's definitely the hat that's and logo that's been around, since the Stone Age pretty much, and it's not changing anytime soon. So if there's a tradition in baseball, I mean, it can be represented with the Yankees hat right there. So
yeah,
good choice. All right. Finishing off quick fire, we're going to move into 2 whatever questions. Question 3, Coach, what is the next video game you plan on purchasing?
Ooh. That's hard because I update my sports games like once every couple years.
Yeah.
And I just updated all of them.
Oh, did you really? So are you on like a 2-year rotation or something like that?
2 or 3.
Okay.
And then
well, we can change up. What is the last one or the last few that you updated to?
the new MLB game.
There you go.
I'm an Xbox guy, so it was like 11 years. Like I still had my wife made fun of me because I still kept my 360 around just to update the roster from like 2012.
There is nothing wrong with that.
So yeah, I don't know what's next.
That's okay. You know what? It was great. You know, I was a long time Xbox player. And then I transitioned to the PlayStation because of MLB The Show. Because there was nothing, because 2K had just gone away for Microsoft and the Xbox. And then, you know, so many years down the line, they came out with the RBI baseball game, which is fine, but it's an arcade game, not a simulator. Yeah. And this is the first year MLB The Show was on, you know, PlayStation and Xbox, obviously. So that was just, I felt so happy for kind of Xbox players to get a real baseball simulator, especially one as good as MLB The Show. So
I literally woke up at like 3 a.m. before school that day.
Yep. No, that is great. I feel you right there. So, all right. So we're finishing off with the last quickfire question, and I can't help myself. If you listen to me on this podcast, everyone knows that I'm a huge James Bond fan, and I just saw No Time to Die because that's what I do. So, Coach, do you have a favorite James Bond movie?
I don't.
You don't? Okay, so you'll fit in with Justin on this podcast, who's seen like maybe half of one. So
yeah,
that's okay. That's okay. I'd be shocked if you had an answer for me. So
I was that kid that literally sports was my life. Is what I did. And then I didn't get into stuff like that until after I was married, actually.
Oh, okay.
It was one of those deals where it was like, oh, you haven't seen that? Like, okay, now we have to make this happen.
Yep.
And then COVID happened, and it was like perfect timing. Let's do it. Have not gotten to that one yet, though.
I know marriage can change us all. We have to grow up eventually, I suppose. Although we really don't, because I've been married for 6 years now, and I can't say I've grown up that much. So, all right. Well, those are the quick fire questions. We rotate them every now and again for our guests. So actually, it's the first time we did it. So there you go, Jarrett. First time on Baseball, whatever. The quick fire questions. So
perfect.
You did well, my friend. You did well. Let's get into our chat right here. I just want to get to know you a little more, Coach. Tell me where you grew up, and how you got involved in baseball. I'm assuming it was at a young age. Tell me where you grew up, and tell me about your playing careers, positions, favorite seasons, favorite moments, anything of that sort. The floor is yours, my friend.
All right. Well, I grew up in a small town in Iowa. And my grandpa has worked with youth baseball for over 50 years.
Okay.
And my dad was a little league president. So regardless of whether I wanted to or not, I was going to be there every day. And I ended up lining baseball fields, umpiring baseball games, playing baseball games all year. We counted it up. I played over 150 games a year from the time I was 9 until I was probably 15 years old.
That is a lot.
I loved it. We started in March, ended in like September or something like that. And every weekend we were somewhere. Played on a couple different travel teams a year, plus a little league team.
Yep.
And just it's what I do. And I did that up until high school. Actually, when I was in high school, my JV coach took me from the starting catcher to pretty much just sitting on the bench.
Really?
I still don't know the reason why. It just like it made no sense.
Yeah.
And so it kind of killed it for me for a while. And then after that, I went through college and was supposed to be. I actually was a pre-med, and we were sitting in a meeting one day,
Mm-hmm.
and the meeting, they were like, if you could trade lives with anybody, who would you trade lives with? And you figure I'm a pre-med, so I'm thinking like Dr. Oz, Dr. Carson,
Yeah.
somebody like that. And I was like, if I could sit and talk about sports every day, that's the person I want to trade lives with. And it was like, what the heck am I doing in this pre-med classroom? And so then I came back to it because it was like the only thing that made me happy through that time. So it's been a fun relationship with the sport, and it's played a pretty important role for me. So I'm glad to be back in it.
No, that's great to hear. I definitely can relate to that. I I grew up, playing baseball at such a young age, little league travel. I mean, the same as you, umpiring the whole deal, high school, junior college. I was primarily a pitcher though, but catching was my passion. I did it a lot more. I really got into it my last few years of little league. I mean, right at the end, kind of like when you're, like 12, 11, 12, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I picked it up again. I wanted to do it in high school, but I wasn't as good as those guys. But I could throw a wicked two seam, so that was kind of my deal. And then I got into it a little bit more, kind of like in these adult leagues, post my actual kind of competitive playing career. But it's always been my favorite position, especially kind of like playing in those adult, summer fast pitch leagues where you kind of get to call your own game. And I still have my old gear. I refuse to give it up, and I haven't played in years, man. So, but it was always a huge passion playing catcher on the field. So
yeah, I loved it. My dad was a catcher. I think the funny thing is, I don't think originally I wanted to be a catcher.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like he just told me like this is what you're gonna do because we need somebody to do it.
Yeah, that's so funny because that's exactly. I mean, I can't remember the year, but that's what it was. And they're like, "Hey, Probst, you catch it all?" Just like, no. It's like, well, we need a catcher, and that's how it started.
Yeah,
And I'm like, hey, because I was playing. That was a really good. It was like I said, it was near the end of Little League, and I was playing second base because they just needed me to put in a slot. All my, I was like good at third base. I was good at first base, but they didn't have spots for me. So I was like, you catch? I was like, we need a catcher. I'm like, yeah, I guess. It was really just to stick me somewhere. And I wasn't great my first year, but I slowly figured it out after. It was like, yeah, I think I'm getting the hang of this. So
yeah. No, I did it and it worked well. So I didn't stop doing it.
Yep.
And then you know how it is. You start seeing other really good catchers, and then it's just like I'm gonna go be that guy. Yeah. Like, let's do it.
Exactly. So, Coach, tell me about when and how your coaching career began, and how long you've been coaching at the high school level.
So, I really actually haven't been coaching that long.
Mm-hmm.
Straight out of college, I wanted a coaching job. That's really the reason that I became a PE teacher. Because I knew I wanted to work in sports and I wanted to coach. And I sent probably 100 emails to athletic directors. I went to college at UT Martin in Martin, Tennessee.
Okay.
And I sent everywhere from Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri. I think I even I even sent a resume to like North Carolina one time.
Oh, did you really? Okay.
And the
so
guy was
really
like,
branching out.
you're really going to move to North Carolina to coach a middle school team. And I was just like, dude, like I need a coaching job. Like,
Yeah.
but like I got legitimately like 3 interviews. It was terrible.
after sending out all those emails, huh?
Yeah. But when I was working in Memphis, there was a coach that was building up a program, and a lot of his coaches were first-time coaches, and he wasn't very far from being a new coach. So they brought me in, and it was actually a football job. I really didn't have a position either. Like, that's the fun part. Like, I was just kind of like the backup coach for everything.
Okay.
So just
like the utility coach,
Yeah, they were like, honestly, what we want you to do is when one of us can't make it, we need you to run our group. And it was like, you know what? I can call myself a coach. Like, let's do it. It was great. I learned so much about marketing, recruiting, that side, things that I really didn't know anything about.
Yeah.
And then Memphis got crazy, and my wife wanted to move closer to her family.
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly, like I was done not too far into the job, and I came here and they're like, oh, well, there's a baseball opening. And I was like, well, here we go again with this interview thing. And I was just really excited. I was like, finally, here's an opportunity that makes sense. And they decided that I was the person to go ahead and give this a shot. So,
well, if that's perfect timing, if I've ever heard it before, holy cow.
Yeah, it was great. So
yeah. At Hayti High School, I want to know. So, let's talk about your team. Tell me about this year's upcoming season. And I believe the high school's in a development of a new varsity program. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
So here's what had happened. They had baseball like in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm pretty sure their last team was before I was born.
Okay.
And their middle school team, now it would be like their 6th and 7th graders, had an amazing travel team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody around here has told me, like, oh, when you get those kids, like, those kids are really good. And so those parents and the school were like, well, when those kids get to the high school, we need to have something for them. And so my job is basically building a program so that we're ready when the younger kids get there.
Yeah.
And so I like to say we're in like year 0 right now. Because, I mean, we're basically, that's what we are.
Mm-hmm.
We're building. And this year we're only going to have a JV team.
Okay.
We're going to take it slow and try to do it right, not try to push it too hard, too fast.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, our school has 200 kids. We have 21 kids that have put their name on our roster. So I'm really excited about that.
That's fantastic.
A lot of them have very little playing experience or no playing experience, but they're all super athletic. I have 3 seniors, some juniors, and then 13 kids who are between 9th and 10th grade. So
you have your work cut out, don't you, Coach? Well, you know what? I'm not a coach myself. I always would have loved to do it. Just thinking of a team like a raw team with a bunch of athletes and not a baseball player in the bunch just sounds so intriguing for me to put my knowledge and throw my knowledge at them and kind of develop the team you want to build and inspiring these young kids, which I got to think is going to be, I mean, it's got to be very difficult, but it's got to be so rewarding when you see your guys go out there and perform.
Yeah, I know it's going to be hard, and in certain aspects it's going to take a minute, but I'm super excited. Like all of them, not all of them. I'm going to say all but 4 of them, I think, are either football players or basketball players.
Ah, okay.
And like one of our seniors, he told me he hadn't played since he was like 6 or 7, but he's an all-state defensive back and an all-state track runner. And I was like, so what you're telling me is we're going to lead off every game with a drag bunt and we're going to steal second and third on the next 2 pitches. Like,
that sounds like what's going on to me.
it's got its challenges, but at the same time, it's like, we have potential to be really fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where is this young man gonna play? Is he best suited for the outfield at the moment, or
most likely?
Okay,
yeah, but like our whole roster is like that. I have a couple guys that have played travel, so we do have a foundation, but a lot of them are just young guys that are excited. I have another one who he told me he wanted to play, and I was watching him in my PE class, and he was shooting a basketball left-handed. Mm-hmm. So, my first question is like, have you ever pitched before?
Yep.
And he's like, I really haven't even played before. I was like, okay, what do you think about being a pitcher? And he's like, okay, what's that job mean? And I was like, long story short, this is what's going to happen. It was like the other team's going to have somebody that hits left-handed, and I'm really desperately going to need them out. And I'm going to point at you, and they're going to walk back to the bench. And he goes, what team is that? And I was like, the fact that you haven't even pitched yet and you're asking me for a scouting report tells me this is going to work out great.
That's fantastic. Even the motivation there is enough to get me get me started up. So
love it.
You know what? As we're talking about this, it's just so refreshing to hear that there is a group of young men at the high school level truly enthusiastic and truly excited, almost like being, little kids again, going out there and playing baseball again, especially now with just the training methods and the work and high school baseball has become a job in so many aspects. It almost was even when I was playing, and that was ancient years ago. So, I mean, just the fact that you have a group of young men, although kind of inexperienced with baseball at that age, but talented athletes ready to go out there and take the field is just so refreshing to hear.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you, how large is your coaching staff? Like, how many guys you got? You have an assistant, pitching coach, anything like that?
Our middle school program has 2.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, our entire high school staff is on the camera. So,
well, there we go.
Yeah, it like I said, it's going to be real fun.
You have your hands full, Coach.
I do, but everything is so exciting and everything is so positive right now that like I'm totally cool with it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So this next question I had, I was when I came up with it, I was kind of unaware of the experience level of your players. But let's talk about your training methods to get these guys ready. Just how you're running, practices for any position whatsoever. And has it changed much since when you played? Like, are you taking what you did back when you played and pushing on these kids, or are there modern, high school coaching methods or practices that you have learned and that you're going to try and develop your team with?
Well, I'm the person that, like, honestly, I take a little bit from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always something new, something different. The biggest difference is the weight room, actually.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Like when I played, it was like, why would I be in the weight room? Like, I hit a ball, I run 90 feet, and then I go catch.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a college coach, and he was like, we don't recruit kids that aren't in the weight room. I was like, okay, like we can do that.
Yeah.
Easy fix. But that is something that's definitely changed since I've played.
Okay.
The other thing that has changed technique wise, I said I was a catcher. I was a very old school catcher. Like, I did not wear knee savers.
Screw those things.
I actually like when I was playing my tournaments, it was like 2006, 7 to like 2011. Like, I'm really young in the coaching world.
I was gonna say, you must be younger than me. How old are you, Coach? If you don't mind sharing. You are very okay. I'm 32, so.
Well, so when I was playing, knee savers were like the thing, and it got to a point where I would look at another team's catcher and be like, "Oh, he uses knee savers. Like, whatever, heck with him." And I still am that way, but now the one thing that has changed with catching technique, I was that person that I was always in my stance, ready to go, because that's what I was told, right? And then you had people come along who they were like on their knees, or they might have one knee. And for the longest time, like, I know Gary Sanchez does that a lot.
Yeah. You see it everywhere in Major League Baseball now.
And I was like, what the heck? Like, they have a pretend catcher. Okay, whatever. And then I was watching a game, and I saw Yadier Molina on one knee. And even though I'm a Cubs fan, since I'm a catcher, I love Yadi. Like, that is the one person that I don't care if he is in St. Louis. Like, he's
arguably the best catcher in baseball at the moment. So
he is the best catcher I've ever seen. And I was sitting there, I was like, if Yadi's on one knee, like, I can't say anything anymore. So
I think he was one of the first people to, because he did, even years ago, he did drop to one knee, and then even had like one knee or one leg out at one point.
Yeah.
Just to kind of cushion himself and just to get a good frame to receive.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the revolution of pitch framing. I think it's so hit or miss, and I think it's more just statisticians not really paying attention to the art of proper receiving and proper calling of pitches. But that's just me. But yeah, it's just, you see that everywhere now. But you're seeing it more, like you brought up Gary Sanchez, Zach Collins on the White Sox, just kind of like the big dudes who are bats, but they're not like catchers like when we were playing or anything. That defense is sort of lost a little bit, especially when they're trying to shrink themselves a little bit. But that is really interesting.
Like with Yachty, though, you'll see if there's nobody on, he'll drop to a knee. When somebody's on, he'll get up.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a different technique. It's just a different attitude on saving their knees.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that, Yachty versus a guy like Joe Mauer, who had to transition into a first baseman.
Yeah.
at one point at the end of his career. Just because of the constant crouching. So yeah, that's one thing that's changed a little bit.
That's interesting.
You talked about pitch framing. I'm not big on somebody like pulling their glove in. I think that's a dead giveaway.
I think it almost, I think you hit it on the head when you bring it up too much, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when you snap it back into the zone, I mean, that's just not a proper, pitch receiving to me. That is just blatant, hey, I'm trying to, trick you here, and I'm showing you, and you're not going to get a call. Let's face it. So
the way I always got away with it, and I got a lot of calls I shouldn't get. It's in the wrist.
Yeah.
Yep. You pull your wrist back to the middle.
Yeah.
And like you got to tell your pitcher, like I can only do so much for you, but if you get it close,
yeah.
if you make it close, I can
help you make it look better. I remember I literally had umpires tell me that, hey, if you keep me safe back here, I'll get you the call. So it's like, okay, that's do my best for you, Blue. So, but that just opens up a whole another can of worms to umpiring. You touched on the lifting before, the weight room, and that was a thing when I was playing. But as pitchers, they wanted us running most of the time, or working our legs really, or playing catch, which makes sense. But is there anything else like pro scouts or college scouts are looking for with high school level hitters, to be specific? Is there a specific approach to the at the plate that you stress at this level?
Well, see, with hitting, it's a little different with me. Because I was not the guy that had a like home run swing.
Yeah.
I didn't play that style. So like I don't know even what they talk about at that type of style and play. Mm-hmm. But I stress us getting on base, putting the ball in play. I was that person that when I was not hitting, I had a DVD that stayed in the corner of my movie shelf, so I could find it at all times. And it was just like an hour of Tony Gwynn talking about hitting. And I am such a student of Tony Gwynn that I used a 31-31 bat.
Oh, okay.
Like same size, same weight,
same weight. Interesting.
And, yeah. So like that's where my mind is. I want us to be able to make contact and see what happens.
Which I think is the proper approach, definitely, especially with the team that you have. I think you're going to get the best success out of that. Yeah. Either way. So that's definitely, I can definitely see that.
Especially with as fast as these kids are.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you got track stars on the team. I mean, you don't, what do you have to lose with putting the ball on play and get on base either way? So
yeah,
I think that's totally awesome. Me personally, I was never like at the plate. I was never a walk guy. I was always in and out of the box, which I know is so archaic now. But I swung a 34-31. That's what I still swing when I take my dog out to the field and hit the tennis ball for him. Anything shorter, and I'm not getting extension, I'm not hitting the ball anywhere still. So unless I'm practicing off a tee, but I know I always had the Alfonso Soriano, tree trunk.
I actually saw a model of his bat. Yeah. It's like I have no clue how
the hell that with his side. Like, I mean, he was a strong dude, but
I went through our equipment room at the school. Because we have some wooden bats that are back in the corner. And I was just curious what size they were and all that. And one of them is a Ken Griffey Jr. model.
Mm-hmm.
and it is huge. And I was like, I'm not sure I could get that around now. like, like there's probably video of me on camera at the school just like swinging that bat just to see like can I actually swing this in a way that I think would actually do something productive, because it's huge.
Yeah.
But if I go to the Louisville Slugger Museum in the batting cage and ask for the Tony Gwynn model, I'm pretty good with that one.
You're right. Yeah, you're gonna be just fine. If I had to pick that one up, oh man, that would be a huge adjustment. I can barely swing the bat, without embarrassing myself as it is right now. So, no, that's definitely awesome. All right, here. This has been curious, and I want to ask this question, but let me give you a little history about this one. I was playing. We have high school kids heading off to college, looking for summer jobs. I also work in a school district, and they come work for the summer before they head off to college. And we had this one young man. He was a pitcher, varsity pitcher for his high school team. And I found out he played baseball. So I'm like, hey, you want to, play catch a little bit? And I kind of had a coaching moment myself where he was a pitcher. I was kind of showing him, my curveball, and he made my day because he said, oh, that thing is nasty. I'm just like, dude, you just made my year, dude. He asked me how I threw it. I'm just like, serious? You want to know how I did something? So, I showed him everything. I was just, we were just shooting it back and forth. And he just happened to bring up the subject of spin rate, which I know is huge in Major League Baseball right now.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering for you, and I don't know, like because of the level of your pitchers right now, but are they aware of the revolution of spin rate and pitch tracking, and are they curious about it? With their own pitches or anything like that.
I know my players are not,
mm-hmm.
but I know a lot of young players are. Me personally, I think it was Harold Reynolds one time. There was like I got like 0.6 seconds, if that. So let's not try to clutter my mind. Like that was my thought.
Yeah.
But like if I can get my eyes on the ball, we're doing good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look for spin. And which is weird because like I've talked to people who caught, and the catchers are like, you don't ever look at that. And I was like, not really. But you literally call pitches. You see all these pitches come in. It's like, I don't know their experience as a catcher, but like I watched the ball. I put my glove up. My guy throws the ball to my glove. I'm not like looking at the spin like, oh crap, this one's not gonna get to me because he spun it too fast.
Yeah.
Like
no, it's very true. When I was catching, and I if anything, like my pitch was a two-seam fastball with great well, I don't say great. I'm not saying anything special right here, but pretty good horizontal movement.
Great when you look back at it.
Yeah, no kidding. In my mind, it sure is. But if any, I mean, I was not looking for, when I was on the mound, I was not looking for anything, I wasn't looking for the rosin or anything to improve my grip. I worked right on the seams right there. And if I was to put a little zip on a pitch or something, because everything I worked off the seams, and I was just using it to, drop it down a little lower. But other than that, I kind of preferred the slippery grip because it kind of, just from the sweat or anything, because it kind of helped my pitch move a little more. But I'm talking to these younger kids and they're like, oh yeah, no, spin. How much is my pitch spinning? And when I was catching, I never paid attention to it. I was like you. I was like, hey, see if you can put the ball where I'm setting up the target right here.
Yeah.
And let's just get the guy. I'm not paid. I don't even know if I could even tell, so I don't know if I have that eye, but it's not something I started paying attention to until it became like the revolution in baseball like it is now. So
yeah, well, and the other thing too is I'm not sure how many of those catchers called their own game.
Yeah.
Because now I'm thinking about it, I was allowed to call my own game as young as
were you really
10, 11 years old.
Oh, okay.
Like,
at that age,
I remember being 10 and I like my dad was one of my coaches. He was like, figure it out, call it. And there was one of them I called and this is literally how I learned to call a game. I was like 10 and I knew we had the bases loaded and the guy threw a changeup and I called a changeup high. I was like, well, it worked when I was playing 2K last night. So let's try that. And we didn't see that ball after it landed. And after we came back in, after giving up the grand slam, my dad was like, yeah, as soon as you called that, I knew we were going to give up 4 runs, but
oh, man.
At least you'll never call that again. But I did. I called my own games forever. And
even in high school?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. In high school, everything was called from the dugout from us. So
for me, like I said, the JV coach I didn't have a good relationship with, but the freshman coach, he and I talked a lot because he was the assistant JV coach and the freshman coach. So clearly, if I sat in all the JV games, I had plenty of time to talk to him. And he trusted me to call my own. He trusted me way too much. First off, looking back, but no, he let me call my own game. Yeah, I've always done that.
I think one of the best parts of being a catcher or catching a baseball game is calling the game. I mean, it's yeah, I don't know if fun's the right word. It certainly is fun, but just a responsibility that I like having, on me. Yeah. I like, and I caught guys that I've caught pitchers too. I mind you, this was all kind of post more competitive baseball, but that they would, call their own pitches. So I had to pick up on that. And, one time I gave up, I missed the sign. He was calling a sinker and I gave up on it too early. And I kind of brought up a little bit and it was just the best sinker I've seen to this day. And it was just like a summer league or something. But I was like, oh man, I wish should be calling these right now, instead of him.
Yeah.
But
well, I've always felt like there was things I could see that people in the dugout couldn't.
Exactly.
And I feel like it's important for the catcher to be able to call their own game.
Yes, I completely agree with you.
I never had a pitcher call the game. I've had them shake me off a couple times.
Yeah, of course. That happens.
Those are fun.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them. They shook me off. I gave them the same sign about 4 times.
Yep.
It was like I have done that before. I'm not gonna lie.
Did you go out and talk to them after that, or did you just keep looking down? Yeah,
I did. They
were feeling it or not. There were
certain pitchers where I spent a lot of time at the pitcher's mound.
Yeah,
which is funny because I was reading the rule book, which you don't ever think about because it's baseball. The rules are the same, no matter what, right?
Right.
But I was like, whatever. I got free time during my planning period today. I should probably look at the rule book because I coach the sport. And I'm sitting here and it says between the coach, the catcher, and all other personnel, you are only allowed to have 3 trips to the mound during a game.
Really? Okay.
I was like,
I don't remember that.
Nobody read that.
Yeah.
Because there were some games where I broke that rule by myself.
Sure. Just going out there on your own.
So now I know, like, we're going to be sitting here with a clipboard like, oh, he talked to his pitcher. There's one. Like, okay. But yeah. So
I always hated it. I was never confident in my changeup. And for whatever reason, catchers would call change-ups on me, and that's the only time I would shake someone off. I would definitely throw it, but it's not a pitch I had confidence in. I'm like, just stop calling the change-up. I can bury this two-seamer, bust him in. But it's still something I wish I would have had, when I was playing. Yeah. But I mean, I had one, but it wasn't good enough, at least for my liking. But other than that, if someone ever shook me off when I was on the other side, I gave them the benefit of the doubt, wondering if they weren't confident in that pitch at that certain time. So I would mix it up. Then I would usually just kind of get a waste pitch or something if the count was right. But yeah, most of the time, I think most pitchers I caught, were confident in the signs I threw down. So, and like I said, one of my favorite parts of playing catcher, of course. So
yeah, well, and like for me, it depended on the pitcher, because we had our travel team, and then in Little League, they actually took our travel team and split it up between all the other teams.
Okay.
So there was like one guy who played on both of the travel teams I was on and my Little League team the entire time. And it's like he and I, we could probably get through a game without putting a single sign down, just because like, we did it so much.
Yeah, that Yachty, Molina, Adam Wainwright relationship or something.
Yeah.
So
is like, I honestly, like, if they ever decide to have an alumni game,
yeah,
like, I'm pretty sure I can still tell exactly what his numbers are and what he wants to do.
Yeah, I can attest to that. It's hard for people who have never played to maybe believe or understand that, but that is a thing. If you feel you can feel a guy, you can feel your guy out there, and you don't have to talk, but there's that communication that's working between a pitcher and a catcher. It's a special relationship where you two are on the same page. It's an intangible, but it's a thing. And I can certainly attest to that. So,
and it goes even farther than that, because if you catch a guy long enough, I mean, his motion better than he does.
Yeah.
Is like, he'll miss a couple times and it's like, oh, well, you're not doing this right now. Is, and it's weird because they're like, you're not even a pitcher. It's like, yeah, but I see this coming at me all day long.
Yeah.
Like I could catch the guy with my eyes closed at this point. So, but, and yeah.
I don't know, to finish up here, I don't know if this applies to your team or your high school, but walk me through your process, if you ever needed to make a cut for your team. If you had too many players, you had to cut a young man. Certainly when I was playing, baseball was, the popular sport, and we had, half a high school of young men try out, and they would only take so many. Not knowing if you have to make any cuts this year, but if you ever had to, what would you tell a guy? Because I know there's I've certainly heard a lot of different approaches from, friends and other players I've talked to throughout my playing years.
Yeah, well, we're definitely not in that situation, fortunately. I mean, we'll take all the people we can get. we have 200 students, so I would love for like 100 people to come sign up. But I fortunately will probably never have that problem. But I have been in programs that have had that problem. And my biggest thing is and this is what my experience has been in the past, is you have coaches who, especially at the high school level, are like, well, this person has done this for this long, so that's going to be my guy. Let's roll with that. And everybody else, you're just out of luck. And to me, I do realize there are some programs that, have to cut people. It needs to be a respectful process.
Yeah.
You're not trying to kill anybody's desire for the sport. And I would also say that before that happens, you should make sure that you have looked at every possible way to use that player. Because I'm also big on all of my people are going to be used in every way possible.
Yeah.
Like in high school, we have, for the first 4 weeks, my pitchers can only throw 25 pitches a game.
Okay.
So we play 7 innings. I'm going to need like 7 pitchers to get through a game. So, even if somebody can't do much of anything else, at least if they can give me an inning here or there, that'd be great. But, so for me, mainly it would just be a behavior issue or a grade issue, something like that.
Sure.
And you just have to be honest but respectful, because you want to make sure that they'll still enjoy the sport. They'll still, and you're not trying to kill anybody's desire to do anything.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And that brings back a memory to sophomore year, because when they were making cuts, the head coach of the sophomore team literally said, this is where, some guys' dream continues and where some guys' dreams end tonight. And I was like, oh, I never sat with me, the right way, especially with kids, sophomore, kids, just still kind of like in their prime and still having fun with baseball. And you're talking about ending a dream. Well, I mean, the dream's just kind of going out and having fun to play baseball. The high school team is not the end all be all to everything. So, I mean, it's just, something like, I mean, that phrase always kind of stuck with me. Well, but I never cared for that. And I never liked that coach either. So,
yeah, like where I grew up, the Little League program still had a program up through high school. So, even if a kid was like, okay, I'm not going to play serious enough to play high school baseball, they could still go to like the Little League. And you're not going to practice every day. You're not going to play 30 games this summer, but you can still go practice like 2 times a week, play a game on a weekend. And,
exactly.
And it's like, you want to make sure they'll still do that, because, and then the other thing too, and this is one of the things I love about the school I'm at, is you have so many people that try to specialize their kid early, and it's like that's all they do.
Yep.
Like,
see that everywhere now.
Like I was talking about, we got kids that are gonna play football, they're gonna play basketball, and then just for the heck of it, they're gonna come play baseball. And like that's special.
Yes. I
was in a group that did that until I moved to a bigger school. And the bigger school, it was like, well, I'm in this group, so this is what I do. It's like, that's so weird to me, because I played football. I went from football to wrestling. When wrestling was over, I went to baseball, and it was like, I do it all over again. That's what I do.
Even at a younger age now, I mean, they're trying to get them at just one sport athletes.
Yeah.
Just exactly what you're saying, and then just ride that the rest of the way without, other coaches like, oh, no, don't put him in track, or don't put him in lacrosse, don't put him in wrestling, don't put him in football. No, he's got to be baseball. I'm like, no, it doesn't. So,
we were talking about player specialization.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying, when I was in high school, I either middle school or high school, one of the two, can't remember. They didn't want our quarterback playing baseball because the ball was a different weight. It is like, if you look at the people that play quarterback right now, Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray were signed to baseball contracts.
Yes, they were.
And Patrick Mahomes played baseball.
Yes, he did.
So it's like you've already been proven to not know what you're talking about right there. So it's just never sat well with me. Never made sense. I've always thought that the more you do, the better. And honestly, it should make your job as a coach easier, because right now you figure if you're running, like right now, my program doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also because 95% of my roster is playing football right now. If we were doing anything, all we'd be doing is workouts.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't even be throwing until like maybe December.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. January.
Yeah, just more just more physical conditioning.
Is like
baseball activity.
Is like, honestly, what's going to keep them in better shape?
Yeah.
Showing up to my workout session?
Right.
Or playing on a football team?
No.
Especially since you figured the football team at my high school is a state championship caliber program. Like, you know what?
Yep.
Just go do that. You'll be in great shape. I don't have any worries until like January.
Mm-hmm.
Just, play football, stay in shape, and I will see you in
you in the spring, pretty much. And see you at the end of the winter. Yeah.
Like I would rather not do work until the new year and have a bunch of people who are in shape show up.
Right. That's when we started to show up, but most of us were out of shape, but because we were only playing baseball for the most part, other than a few football players here and there. But
why make life hard?
Oh, that is you make some excellent points. Couldn't agree with you more. But it's just kind of too bad that we don't have these multi-sport athletes. Or I'm not saying it'll become a thing of a past, but it's certainly we're kind of headed towards that way right now, at least in some of the larger settings. So it's kind of a bummer, but no, you made good points there.
That's one of the things that was fun. I used to teach at an elementary school, and that's one of the things I missed, because when I was a kid, I was not in the best shape, but I played everything.
Yeah.
And you could not have convinced 10-year-old me that I wasn't going to go one up Dion and play like 3 sports professionally.
Mm-hmm.
I had it mapped out in my mind.
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
After elementary school, you don't see that anymore. So
no, it's definitely you're definitely right.
It's like 3rd grade is like the peak of that. You'll have a couple 3rd graders that are like, I'm gonna go play for the Twins, and I'm gonna play for the Cowboys, and I might even be a Laker. And it's just like, that's my favorite student. Right?
There you go.
Like, just might, whatever, small chance, might get bored in the winter.
Oh, that's
I miss
great.
those people.
Yeah, no kidding. So, Coach, before we close it out here, I know we mentioned before you're a huge Cub fan.
Yep.
You want to share any thoughts on the Cubs season and what you'd like to see moving forward? Do you have any players you think they should sign or trade for? Any thoughts on the Cubbies coming up?
Well, my thoughts have changed a lot in the last couple months. I know that much. All the people I can think of signing are people we let go. You know?
Okay, so is KB on the sites for this offseason, bringing him back?
The funny thing is, he actually wasn't one of the people that I was like looking forward to.
Really?
Like when I am so different than most Cub fans. When we had to choose between Bryant and Schwarber, I was like, we should just keep Schwarber, and we should get some pitching out of Bryant. Like,
interesting.
Because I don't know, that's just how I looked at it. But
there were a couple pitchers included in that deal, weren't there, to the Giants?
I think so.
I can't remember. I thought there was at least one pitcher.
That day ever happened, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
But no, like I was a big Javi Baez fan. That was my guy. That was probably my first favorite Cub after Sammy Sosa left.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like, right. And what I mean is, like, you always have your favorite player on your team. But every now and then a guy comes along that, like, I really just want to watch that player. That was it for me.
So is Javi Baez still that guy for you?
Yeah. Just because, like, he makes baseball fun.
Okay.
That's another conversation that you can get into, too, is all the people that talk about, the younger players and the fun they have. But other players were like that. Sosa was fun. Griffey was fun. Jeter was fun. Baez was fun. It was like, I like those guys. So in a dream world, we'd have him again. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see us lose Hendricks or Contreras. Okay,
so Contreras is up.
Go ahead and lock them down to lifetime contracts.
Gotcha. So Contreras is up after the not this season, but the 2022 season, right? So you want to see Contreras locked up, and Hendricks is on a team friendly right now. When does his expire?
I don't even know.
Okay.
I know that I really don't want to see them leave.
Gotcha.
The thing with me right now is all the so my grandpa is a big Yankee fan.
Yeah.
He told me earlier in the year he was mad about how the Yankees were doing. And he said that he thought he was going to write a letter to the GM that said he wanted a new manager, a new outfielder, and a new GM.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, the funny thing is, that's literally what I think. Like, if we could get a new owner, a new GM, and a new manager, like, I don't like any of them anymore.
So no Ricketts, no Hoyer.
Oh my gosh! If you would have told somebody is going to lead the Cubs to a World Series, and within 5 years, he's going to be one of the most hated people in Chicago, you would think he would have to bomb the city of Chicago or something.
Not win a World Series and continue to take your team to the postseason. Right?
Yeah, and it's like it would have to be something drastic.
Yeah.
And well, he did something drastic. But no, I've been disappointed ever since we let Madden leave. I feel like that was the beginning of the end. And now I really don't want to think about the big dark pit that we are currently sailing into.
I think it's going to be one of the I don't know if interesting is the right word, but it's definitely an off season and a team. Here on the podcast and here in Chicago, we're all Cubs, all Sox. We're paying attention to it all the time, and I'm really curious to see what the Cubs are going to do this postseason, because the obvious thing to do is to I guess they're in this soft rebuild right now, where they did have a sell off, but there are free agents available, so it'll be interesting to see how fast they bring this along. And it's going to be a curious offseason because I don't really have a trajectory on what they plan, on what Jed Hoyer plans to do. So at least it's going to be some Cubs news lately, at least on the podcast. Our Cubs hero for the moment was Frank Schwindel, and nothing against him, of course. He's doing, fantastic, but it's, we prefer to have, Cubs doing well on our episodes and and everything. So, but it wasn't going that way for a while, but certainly. So I have one last question for you. I know we touched on video games. I know you're a sports video games guy. Anything you're looking forward to, and what are you currently playing right now? Are we sticking with MLB The Show? Have we gotten into Madden? I picked up the new Madden, and I've played it so infrequently, and I know Madden gets a lot of hate nowadays, but I still enjoy it here and there because I'm not really a hardcore with it. But I also want to ask you some of the classics that you love, some of your favorites as a kid or anything on some of the older consoles. I know you're younger than me, so Xbox 360 was probably your console as a kid, but do you have a favorite?
Well, actually, when it comes to that, I had uncles that were older than me. So as they moved out and got older, I actually did have like an original PlayStation.
Oh, there we go.
Played on a Nintendo. Like I did get to play that stuff. But now growing up, my first console that was mine was the original Xbox.
There you go. Okay. All right.
NFL Street was great.
Nice.
Street, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Loved it. Now I refused to upgrade my system all throughout college. I still had my 360 just because like I was broke. I was in college, and it was like,
oh yeah,
like, do I want to upgrade my system or do I want to like eat well this semester? and so I didn't upgrade it, but all I played was sports games at the time.
Yeah,
and my wife is actually a huge gamer.
Oh, okay.
She used to stream, do all that. And
nice.
So yeah. When I got with her, I upgraded my system, so I still didn't have to pay.
kind of had to.
And it was funny because like I started putting all my stuff on it, so like sports games, and she was just like, "That's like the most boring thing in the world." She is a FPS person.
Okay. And you like the shooters. All right.
Yeah. So like she's that person that would stream Apex for like 10 hours.
Okay. Yep.
And I can't get into Apex as much because like that's like, to me, that is the most rage inducing game I've ever played in my life. But like if I'm not playing a sports game, I'm probably playing Siege.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, that's been it for me for a while now.
That game is still going strong. It is awesome to see when that happens. I love it. So yeah, I love it. Still going strong, still pushing out updates for it.
Yeah.
Which is always great when you see a game get that sort of love and lasting value. So
it's great. And like, so it's fun because she plays that sometimes. We do have two systems, so sometimes we'll play it at the same time. A lot of times it's just me. Okay. So
awesome.
I play that enough. I got my people on it. I got my main people. She got her main people. So is fun.
There you go.
She likes to make fun of me for that because she doesn't like my selections, but that's okay. I'm successful with my selections. I always tell her,
as long as you're okay with them. So.
Oh, definitely. You know, like I main Thermite on that game. I like to tell her my reasoning is because when in doubt, I just blow crap up and hope something good happens.
That seems to be the answer. You know, at the last resort, if anything else. Coach, can't thank you enough for being on with us. Before we let you go, do you have anything else you'd like to share with us before we finish up here? Feel like we went through a whole range of topics today. And I feel like this worked really well. This is the first time we've ever spoken face to face, or at least over Zoom, other than chatting on Twitter. So I think this was. I certainly think this was a great chat, great recording.
Definitely, I've enjoyed it. I'm always up for it.
Well, we'll have to have you back on. We definitely want to check in with you in the future. Especially when the season kicks off, and check in on your football / your football star baseball team out there. So
totally.
I'm excited to see how these young men transition to baseball, and I wish them all the best. It's gonna be amazing. So thank you again for joining us. If you're new to this podcast, we are Baseball and Whatever, based out of the Midwest. Baseball and Whatever is a proud partner of the Belly Up Sports Network. Follow us on all social media platforms. Our Twitter handle, again, is @BaseballAndWhat. You can also follow me on Twitter if you want, @GPropes15. That is Golf Papa Romeo Oscar Bravo Sierra Tango 15. And, of course, email us at baseballandwhatever@gmail.com. Guys, stay tuned for the upcoming episode later this week. I'm Greg. That's Coach Jarrett Dial from Hayti High School, Missouri. Thank you again, Jarrett. And everyone, take care. Good night. We'll see you.